My son and I are off on an adventure today, but that did involve getting the train. But to get to the train, we first had to drive to the train station because although there is a train station in our village, the trains there only come every hour or so, which adds a lot of time and waiting around onto our journey and also adds quite a lot of extra money as well. So, step one was to drive to the train station. It was quite a pretty little drive there, actually. It's very, very rural area. So as you can see, we were doing a lot of countryside, although we were stuck behind this truck for ages and it kept dropping bits of cement, which was mildly worrying. But then when we got to the station, we set off on the train. And again, it was still very, very rural. I do live quite countryside, you see. And it took quite a long time to get to where we were going on the train today. As I say, it started off very, very rural and then gradually it started to become more built up as we went along. And I knew that we were getting quite close to where we were going. And by then I was very, very glad of it because my back was starting to hurt quite a lot from just being sat still on the train. My back, as you may know, if you've been following my videos, is not very kind to me at the moment. But we got there in the end. Can you tell where I am yet? Not a bad view for a train station, is it?
Hi, I'm Victoria Pearson, but you can call me V, and today I've had to come into London to take my son to the hospital. I'm not going to film in the hospital, but I am going to show you some of the sights along the South Bank. Let's go.
We arrived in Blackfriars Station, and that is what Blackfriars Station looks like from the outside. It is a gorgeous little walk just coming out of the station. You've got this beautiful mural here, which I thought was absolutely gorgeous. You've got all the views of the bridges as you're walking out of there, and then you've got these murals as well, which I'm not actually entirely sure who made them. I'm pretty sure it does say on there. But as you come out, your first view that you see is the River Thames, and it is a heck of a lot colder than it looks in this video, let me tell you. But it was a beautiful, beautiful day, and it was early enough that it wasn't even that crowded yet. Now, the South Bank does get a little bit crowded later in the day. You get a lot of tourists in this area, and because it is a very touristy area, that means it is a very expensive area. But it is a really nice place to sit and do some people watching as well. This was the police boat that was driving down the Thames. That was probably the most police presence we saw today. Very close to Blackfriars is the OXO building, and we decided to stop there and have some breakfast because we had left too early for breakfast. So we got a couple of toasties and some coffee. That was an extortionate amount of money as well. And then we carried on walking. There are some beautiful green spaces here right in the very middle of London. Like, even though we are literally in the city centre, in the most touristy and central part, there are still these really beautiful green spaces along the riverbank, which is a really nice place to sit and have a walk or have a picnic if it is a little bit warmer. That's the outside of the OXO building there. As you can see, we've even got a little beachy type area almost kind of on the Thames. Sometimes you get sand artists there making sculptures out of the sand, which is really cool, but there weren't any there today. I think we were just a little bit too early for them. This is another area by the Thames that does get very, very crowded. But again, at this time of day, it wasn't too bad. We are going to be walking back through here later, so I'm thinking that it'll probably be a bit more crowded then. But it will definitely get more crowded as we go along closer to the London Eye and Big Ben and all the sites that people like to see. Now, when we first saw this little area, I thought it was a Christmas market because I don't think that these little huts were here the last time I came. The last time I came here, there was a double-decker bus that sold ice cream, but apart from that, there wasn't very much. And so I think this must be a new thing because they weren't particularly Christmas-themed businesses, although the little fairy lights along the roofs did make them look very festive, and it was really, really nice to walk along. It smelled amazing along here. Almost all of these do food. There are a couple of little knick-knack stalls and there are a couple of little souvenir places and places that sell scarves and maps and things like that. But a lot of them were food related, and so it smelled amazing going along there. And look, you wait for a bus all day and then 3 double-deckers come along at once. Oh, 4 double-deckers come along at once. I was very, very pleased to have seen so many of those. Now, just beyond the National Theatre here, you can see the London Eye just peeping out through there.
I don't see what would stop you just following one of these guided tours around.
And there's lots of interesting street architecture in central London. I think that some of it is designed to stop people from being able to like drive into buildings and stuff, but some of it is just there to look cool, I think. And there are these little statues everywhere. This is Laurence Olivier, I presume because of the proximity to the National Theatre. My son thought that was a cross he was holding at first, but it is a sword. And then here there is a book market, but we arrived again too early. It hadn't set up yet. Normally that area is full of secondhand books, which is just a place where I spend ages and ages, and my family usually has to drag me away. So I think my son was quite pleased that it hadn't opened yet. We carried on along the riverbank. We were checking out all these cool places to eat. And then we come to, this is one of my son's favourite places in London. It is this little skate park where you are also allowed to make street art and graffiti. I didn't film here for too long because I didn't want to make the boys in here feel too self-conscious. But they were doing some amazing tricks. And by the end of the day, a lot of people were gathering to watch them there. And they were very, very skilled, very, very talented. And again, you can see the London Eye peeping through there, which just shows how big it is because we're still quite far from it at this point. Now, if you go up these yellow stairs, you can get to like a gallery and stuff. I've been there before. I haven't been for quite a long time, so I don't know exactly what it's like there anymore. But yeah, again, we can see the London Eye creeping across. And I know that once I'm able to see Big Ben across the river, that we are very, very close. We're not quite there yet. But again, this is another beautiful bridge. We've got some gorgeous bridges in London, and I always get them mixed up, to be honest, and can never remember which is which. So I don't want to tell you which one this is because I'm not entirely sure. It is not London Bridge, though, I'll tell you that. The not festive market was looking even more festive with the mulled wine stall over there. I do like when they turn these old vehicles into little businesses. I think that's very cool and creative, and I like seeing how that they have changed things. This part of the walk smelled absolutely amazing. Even as a vegetarian, I'm saying that. I don't know what was being cooked here, but it was lovely. There's this old map stall as well that I really wanted to have a look at, but my son was getting antsy about us being late if we stopped at every stall, so I did not. And look how cutesy this one is. They put so much effort into this little chocolate shop. Isn't that amazing? As you can see, not everywhere was open yet because we were here quite early for quite an early appointment. But it was starting to pick up and starting to bustle. It was probably about 10:30 at this sort of time. And so people were starting to arrive and businesses were starting to open and things. And it looked really, really gorgeous. And then we got our first glimpse of Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament, which told me that we have not got too far to go. And that's actually the brilliant thing about going to St. Thomas's on the train, is that if you get off at Blackfriars and just walk straight down the river, you literally can't get lost. So if you're looking at this video as a way of working out where St. Thomas's is, really, really easy to find it from there. I love the little carousel that we've got here. We've gone past it for years and years and years, and none of my children have ever had a go, which is just a bit of a travesty, really. The seagulls, very, very tame, not scared of you at all, will take food out of your hands, so be wary of that. And here we have come to the bottom of the London Eye. And this is where you get most of your street performers and your buskers and things like that. Opposite the London Eye is a little green space where there are loads of squirrels, and this is probably the closest that I did get to getting stabbed today, as one of you was very worried that I was going to get stabbed going into London. No, a squirrel aggressively ran at me near the London Eye, but I thought it was cute, and when I didn't run away, he did. But we were right underneath the London Eye, and there's this gorgeous green space here called the Jubilee Gardens. There is a statue here of the International Brigades, and when I pointed out to my son that it was the International Brigades, he said, "Who's the International Brigades?" And so he had to have some education today. But it is a gorgeous, gorgeous place to sit and just look at the London Eye, if that is your thing. There's a children's play park right there next to it, which is completely free for your kids to go and play in, and there's plenty of room for them to sort of run around and things like that as well. I would have filmed more of the park, but it was already full of children at that time of day, and lots of squirrels that were hanging around hoping that somebody was going to leave them some snacks. I feel like this one was camera shy. Oh, there he is. And that was right next to the International Brigade statue there, and right underneath the London Eye. It was really, really beautiful. I didn't expect to see so many squirrels in London, but here you can donate £2 to the Jubilee Gardens upkeep. I have no idea why that squirrel's blue. Maybe he's cold.
See me walking down Fifth Avenue, with the King Katie by my side. Thank you.
carried on past the London Eye at this point, just so you can get an idea of the scale of it. Look how massive that is. But just along here is where you will find a lot of the touristy things, including the London Dungeon and the Shrek experience, and again, the Houses of Parliament and Big Ben. Here's the London Dungeon. Beautiful architecture on these buildings as well. They're really, really beautiful. And it's always worth looking up so you can see extra statues and things. It's absolutely classic view of Big Ben there and the Houses of Parliament. And you can see it for quite some time along the river. It's really, really beautiful from every single angle, to be honest with you. And I really enjoy seeing it, especially when we get to hear the bongs, which I think we will get to a little bit later. Beautiful, beautiful architecture for the Shrek's Adventure there. We've never actually been inside it, but the building's gorgeous. And they've even got the little seahorses outside the Sea Life Centre as well, which my son made me laugh by calling it the fish zoo, because he couldn't remember the word for aquarium. Now, this is probably the most London shot I got, because you've got the London bus there, Big Ben, and then this little vintage car that's been made into a hot chocolate machine, which is lovely. Here you can see that we do still have freight boats going up and down the Thames quite often. There's quite a sight to see. And yeah, although the river itself is beautiful and there's a lot of like tour boats and stuff on there, it is also very much a place of business still. Alongside the river and next to the hospital is this COVID memorial wall. There is a heart for, I think, every person that died of COVID. And then people can come along with markers and write the names of their loved ones on there, which is really nice. A couple of people haven't quite got the idea of that and have just put initials of people they love. But we did see some people there today putting names of people that they had lost on the wall, which was really sad. And that's St Thomas's Hospital itself. So it is directly opposite Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament. I could actually hear Big Ben's bongs while my child was being born there. And as you can see, it's got some beautifully historic parts of the grounds, including quite a lot of statues. This one, I think, is of Florence Nightingale, and it's been used as a war memorial area. It was really, really weird walking around this hospital for the last time, because my son will be going into adult care after today, and so we won't be coming to the children's section of the hospital ever again. And so it was weird, but we spent some time walking along the river, and I showed my son a little garden tucked around behind the hospital, which you can find here. It has changed quite a lot since the last time I came down here. It's been a few years, but it's a nice quiet place. I think it's mostly used by staff at the hospital, although there are sometimes patients that sit out here as well. There was a statue here of Sir Robert Clayton, and there it is tucked away behind the bins. And what I thought was really, really good about this is that they did make a point of writing on the sign who Robert Clayton was. And here it says that although Clayton was a benefactor of the hospital, he made a lot of his money through slavery. And I think it's really good that we acknowledge those parts of history. And I really think it's good that we stick his statue out the back by the gym equipment and this little pool thing where people go for a smoke and nobody really goes. Inside the hospital itself, there's some beautiful historical stuff, including the gorgeous stained glass window and statues of Queen Victoria, who was a patron of the hospital. And it's also got the Florence Nightingale Museum with lots of little exhibits about the history of medical care. There's a lot more exhibits than this, but the area was being used at that time for a patient meeting, and so it wouldn't have been right for me to go there and film stuff. I'm trying very, very hard to not film any actual people in the hospital. They've got these beautiful artworks there as well, which my son thought was creepy, but I thought was very nice. And the Nightingale thing, especially because of the association with Florence Nightingale at St Thomas's Hospital. It's even got a place to fill up your water bottle for free.
So we are at the hospital now, so I'm going to stop filming for a little while. Obviously, there's some very poorly children here and they do deserve their privacy, but we will show you on the way back.
It went really, really well. It was so strange and emotional to know that that was his last ever time at paediatrics. See that lion statue there? I was looking at that when I gave birth to my child. It's strange. And then there is the Houses of Parliament. Again, we decided to walk over the bridge and cross the river. I'm pretty sure that's Westminster Bridge, but don't quote me on that. There's the London Eye from a different angle for you again. This area of London is much, much more crowded. This bridge is always crowded, quite difficult to even move across it, let alone film when you're walking across it. But I did my best. And I was used with my camera as well. It kept just trying to zoom into things, which was very annoying. I don't know how I did that. I must have done with my settings. See these buses here, how half of them are open top? Those are tour buses. So you can jump on one of those and somebody much more knowledgeable than me will tell you all the different buildings that you're seeing, and what all the historic bits are, which I don't really know very well. But when we got round to the back of the Houses of Parliament, you could hear Big Ben's bongs. Continued round then onto Parliament Square, which is usually where you'd find like protests and things like that. There weren't very many there today. There was a very small vigil protest happening for Palestine across opposite the House of Parliament, but there wasn't any big major protests here today. Last time we came, my son and I ended up going to 2 different protests just to see what they were all about, a Brexit and an anti-Brexit protest, which was quite funny because they were just happening just down the street from each other. But here there was just a very small, very solemn, silent vigil going on over there. We continued around Parliament Square because there are loads and loads of statues around here. Now, I don't know who all of them are. I know that Churchill's one is very unflattering, looks like a hunchback its body deserves, honestly. But there are a fair few statues over here. You can see some of them there, but I am going to walk around. We've got Nelson Mandela there. We've got Robert Peel as well, I think that is. There are a few where the signage isn't great. You can't see very well what it says and who it is. But I like that they're all in the same sort of style. It gives them a sort of coherence. But I really, really just love their zesty little poses that they do. I mean, look at that. Look at that with his little cape twirling. I have no idea who that is. That there is Churchill. Again, not the most flattering statue of Churchill there. And this guy gets a chair. I don't know why. But this is one of the most popular ones. This is the Pankhurst statue for the suffragette movement. And there are always loads and loads of people around that one there. And it's quite difficult to film without getting lots of people in the shot. Usually you're not allowed to walk on the grass, but I didn't see any signs there today saying that. But it seemed like people just avoided it anyway, which was really quite strange. Showing you here that the birds have got absolutely no respect for the statues. And then I just love this cape on this guy, the way this cape flows. I don't even know who that is. We were walking along outside the Houses of Parliament. There's another dude there on a horse. Again, don't know who that is. My son thought that the barriers next to us were street art, but they are actually there to prevent people from being able to drive cars into the Houses of Parliament. So we walked around to Victoria Gardens after that, which is behind the Houses of Parliament. It is a beautiful green open space. In the summer, especially at lunchtime, it is basically standing room only there because that's where everybody goes to have their lunch and relax in the sunshine. And it's also a place where you can sometimes see news crews and news cameras there as well, because as you can see when we get round to the actual garden itself, there is a beautiful, beautiful backdrop there for if you are creating any kind of political news. And because it's November and it's quite early, it was completely deserted today, which was a massive contrast to when we came in the middle of the day in the summer. It was baking and there were loads and loads of people there. Look at that view. Isn't that beautiful? Got some gorgeous old buildings around this area as well. And then you've just got the Houses of Parliament just behind you. And so that's why you'll often find news crews here. Rule Britannia, all that business. There's even a Christmas tree out today, although this isn't obviously London's main Christmas tree. That'll be going up in Trafalgar Square quite soon. I think this one's out quite early, and I think it was probably out by a business, but it was super, super cute, and it was quite festive to see. November, I feel, is a tiny bit early for Christmas decorations, but I love public decorations. I think it's adorable that people make an effort to make their local area look nice for other people. We circled the Houses of Parliament completely and crossed over on a dip. You can see we're quite far from the London Eye now. This bridge is, I think, Lambeth across here. And so this is where we decided to walk back and we started heading back on ourselves.
So these phone boxes aren't really used anymore because obviously everyone's got a mobile phone. As you can see, they're used for like advertising, graffiti, and sometimes they got defibrillators in as well, but I don't think this one does.
As we made our way back down the South Bank, there was a lot more street performers out. There was a lot more souvenir sellers out, and there were some fun things. There's Charlie Chaplin there just having a chat with some people. There's some buskers setting up as well. And then all of a sudden we started seeing soap bubbles everywhere, and I was like, where are these all coming from? And it turned out it was this guy here with this huge bubble making contraption, which was really, really cool. And I'd wished that my youngest was with me because he would have absolutely loved that. We also then came across an escape artist over here, and honestly, his showmanship was great. He kept making people think that he was like going to run out of time. Of course he did it in the nick of time, but I suppose I should show you how he did it in the nick of time. So I will shush and let him give his performance.
And now, this is the hardest part now, hang on. If I can do it, 50 seconds. Oh God. In this location. Minus 40 seconds. I'm running out. Hang on. Minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Oh God!
10, 9, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It wouldn't have been nearly so much fun if he hadn't left it to the last second to escape. We came back past the carousel again, and I did actually ask my son if he wanted to go on it because it was our last time going past, and he said to me, "Mother, do not be so ridiculous." And so, of course, we did not go on the carousel. We just carried on walking along here, and as you can see, it started to get a lot more lively than it was earlier. Now, as we came past earlier, we came on the left-hand path, so we're going on the right now. It's a little bit less built up than the rest of it, and you know, if you've wandered down there by mistake, you might actually think that this is a place where people aren't really supposed to be, but you can go down there. It's absolutely fine. There's a few little hidden gems down there. Not very much, but I really, really enjoyed these little pieces of street art along here. There is absolutely no information to say who did it or why, but I just think that they're really, really gorgeous. There's a place that you can eat down here as well, which is possibly a little bit cheaper than the other places on the main thoroughfare. And there is even a little place here where you can do curling, I think, which I have never seen an indoor curling club before, but fair play to them. And so we were walking along there through like the little restaurants and stuff, and we decided that we were really hungry too.
So we have just eaten at the South Bank Centre again. So that's twice today that we have gone into either a Pret or a Cafe Nero. We've got a sandwich each, a coffee each, and this time we've got a can of drink to share as well. And so far today I've spent about £45 just on food. So I would strongly recommend, if you are going into London for the day, that you take a picnic with you. Especially if you're going to the museums, because their food's even more expensive, but they don't mind you bringing your food in with you, so you can have a completely free day out that way.
I was trying to catch some of these murals again that are on the way in, but I got distracted by this really cool street artist who was just making art there, pay as you feel, completely engrossed in what he was doing. It was fantastic. And then on the other side, I got distracted by this button. Honestly, just always blown away by the breadth and depth of the creative talent that I see on display whenever we go to London, whether it's street art, whether it's buskers, street performers, artists. It always amazes me. And although I find going to London really tiring, I love to visit.
So I hope that you enjoyed coming to London with us. It's something that we do every year or two because of my little one's heart. One of you was worried that I was going to get stabbed in London today. I made it through, no machetes, no stabbings, nothing. Well, one person did offer my 17-year-old drugs while I was standing there with him, but we were hanging around at a skate park, and to be honest, my 17-year-old does dress like a bit of a delinquent.
Oi.
And I'm just taking that to mean that I look really, really young. So join me next Monday, 6 a.m. UK time, for my next vlog. I have no idea what that's going to be about yet, but if you can't wait till then to see me again, I understand. I will be here every single morning in your shorts, taking a great big deep breath, letting you know what I am grateful for, and I will be here on a Witchy Wednesday doing an intuitive tarot card reading for you as well. Until then, you have yourself a magical week.